What's up, guys? It's Zilla with Zilla Mode, and today's episode, we're going to be talking about why making more music doesn't always mean growing your career. You know, in the beginning, one of the biggest things that you can do is make more music. As a small artist, you want to do things like find your sound. You want to have more chances to be found in the first place, and the answer usually in that case is to make more music, to have those chances, right? And in the beginning, that is true if you're brand new. Eventually, you get to the point like where that stops being the answer. And for some artists, making more music actually becomes the problem. Because once you already have a real catalog built up, once you already have songs that are doing numbers, or at least doing their job, every new song is not just more music. You're making a decision. You're giving Spotify and all these other platforms something else to push instead of the stuff that was already working. And I think that the part that people don't really think about is like, let's say you got 100 songs, right? I have like 500 songs, but it doesn't have to be necessarily 100 songs. It could be any number. But at least you have like built up some big catalog, something that you can kind of go off of. And once you've built this catalog that represents you, inside that catalog, you're going to have like your top songs, like the ones that are bringing people in. And then you're going to have the middle songs, like not your biggest songs, but not your worst songs. The songs that make up like most of what your catalog traffic is going to be over time. Those songs do a lot of the heavy lifting. That's that mid-level part of your catalog that's going to matter way more than most people think. These are songs that people keep stumbling into, like through radio, like auto playlists or like autoplay playlists, random discovery, the repeat listeners, all that. They might not be the songs that like everybody talks about, but they're the ones that like help keep your catalog like stable and like growing, right? This is like what's going to make up most of your big monthly listeners, I guess you could say. And then you have like your lower performing songs. Now, in the beginning, that's normal. Not every song is going to go crazy, but once you keep adding more and more of these songs, and those newer songs are not outperforming your best songs, and maybe they're not even becoming like solid middle songs, but they're just like landing in that lower tier. Now you're just adding filler, right? And this is where that filler starts getting dangerous, because now that you're not just adding more music, you're adding more stuff for the algorithm to test. There's like more stuff for Spotify to read that can send out either good signals or bad signals. And if like those signals Spotify keeps getting are like, okay, this artist may have dropped off because they just dropped again and people didn't really care, like that's not good. You don't want that. And so like I'm saying that now, I'm not saying that like one underperforming song like completely kills you, obviously not, but if that keeps happening over and over again, you're building a catalog that's starting to like work against itself. So that's like really my point. My point is like, because people act like every release, and that's really the point that I'm getting to, because people act like every release is going to help them, but let me be the first to tell you that that's like not the case at all. Like every release definitely does not help. It can, but most likely, especially after you reach a certain level of numbers in your catalog, sometimes it starts to work against you, and you have to start figuring out like if you need to start clearing out some of that filler, because sometimes you're just replacing stronger opportunities with weaker ones, and like those songs may not have that same opportunity to succeed that they once had, because now you're trying to replace it with something else, and Spotify is like really confused. So like you're basically telling the platform, here, now try this. And then when that thing you gave them is weaker than you already had, it just works against it. So like if you're already doing some, especially if you're doing stuff like phoning in the songs, like if you're like kind of getting lazy with it and you're phoning things in, or maybe you're changing genres too much, or like throwing out random ideas with like no real identity, like you're sending mixed signals out on top of weak signals. So like that's even worse. So now Spotify's trying to figure out what you are, like who even listens to your music, like what type of listener listens to your music, and it just like muddies up the waters. And I think that's really what a lot of artists don't want to admit, that your catalog is already doing a job. Your old songs are working for you right now. So your best songs are working, your middle songs are working, even the songs that aren't your biggest songs are still helping out to keep your catalog alive. So when you're adding those more songs, those songs need to actually bring value. They either need to be the top songs, your new top songs, or they need to be strong middle songs or add something important to your identity that maybe like the biggest fans of yours like will still listen to, even if they're like your lower performing songs. Like, and if they don't, then they just take up space. So like if your song is not even getting 1,000 streams in the first year or like in the last year, it's probably not supposed to be in your catalog at that point. Like it's one of the worst things that you can have on your catalog because I mean, according to Spotify, you're not even getting paid for that because everything below 1,000 streams in the last year, you're not getting paid for. So like, what is that even doing in your catalog, right? I mean, maybe if you're starting out, like it doesn't matter. But if you have like hundreds of songs and they're doing way better than that, then that's just filler, right? And so at a certain point, having a huge discography is like not impressive if it's not doing anything, and that's just fat. So like you want to cut that fat off, and that's the part of it. You know, sometimes you just have to cut it off. I had to recently do that with like 250 songs because if you got songs sitting there doing absolutely nothing, not bringing in listeners, not making any money, not helping your brand out, it's not strengthening your catalog overall, then like why are they there? That sounds harsh, but I mean, it in a lot of ways it's true. And I know that a lot of people get like emotionally attached to every song that they drop, and I get it, but your public catalog is not supposed to be your whole notebook forever, right? It's not supposed to be just like every idea that you ever had. At some point, your catalog is like your storefront. You know, that's what people see. That's like what represents you. That's what new fans are stepping into. And so you don't want to like clog that up with a bunch of nonsense, especially like now after you've had like a big catalog. Maybe you're trying to bring stuff in, like new stuff in, and it was just like sending mixed signals. Like that's not what you want people to see, right? So yeah, if you've got songs that can't even crack 1,000 streams over the last 12 months and they're not even like serving some like bigger purpose, maybe like supposed to be like a part of an album or something like that, and like, what are they doing for you? Like, why are they there? So like I had to cut a lot of them out. I just like took a bunch and then I threw them onto another Spotify profile called Kaiju Cult. And I just let them sit there, and I just took Zilla and made that the featured artist instead of the main artist. So that does a lot of things for me. It keeps those songs still getting the streams that they're getting, but maybe they have a smaller catalog they can flourish in. There's less like algorithmic like weight on them, or like weight around them, I guess in this case, like that fat's not there. So maybe they have more of a chance to flourish and find that audience that they're supposed to find. So again, I'm not saying like every song has to be judged only by money. Obviously, like art means more than that. Like some songs mean something deeper, and if they mean something to you, even if they're getting a low amount of streams, you know, keep them up. You know, at the end of the day, it's up to you. And some songs matter to fans. Like I have like songs that I don't even think about that maybe get like 1,000 to 2,000 streams in a year or something like that. But like people still, it's like, oh, that's my favorite song from you. So it just matters on, you know, a case to case basis. Be smart with it and don't be lazy with it. You know, if you have a bunch of filler stuff in there that you think that, you know, you can cut that fat off, then do it. And if not, and it's special to you, then don't do it. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to you. I mean, it's your art, right? At the end of the day, I mean, I'm just trying to be real. You know, a lot of artists have songs in their discography that just because they're there, they never they never stopped and asked themselves like if it should be there, you know? But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it up to you. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if this is a problem that you've come across, and if there's any other questions that you have on this subject. I want to dive more into this later on in another video. But for now, I'm just going to leave this with you guys. And until next time, peace out.